Welcome to our greenhouse at the George Headley Primary School. Our greenhouse was conceptualized by our computer teacher, Mr. Dane Grant. And Dane is a son of the soil from St. Anne. And he felt that if we engage the energies of our at-risk boys in terms of planting crops and tending to them and all of that, we will be able to get some of the energy, the negative energy, into something positive. And he's been doing a wonderful work with the boys here. And I know I don't want to call it any particular child or children, but we do have children that I think have benefited from this activity. Because the greenhouse is mostly done after school hours, while it's an extracurricular activity, but after school hours, when the boys come here and they are engaged, they don't have time to go out in the communities and get themselves into mischief, or to stay after school and get themselves into mischief at school. They are gainfully employed here. So when they are finished, and so it's just about time for them to go home. And it has become a part of the culture that they know that when school ends, they come around to the garden, and Mr. Grant and the team, they're waiting on them. So it's something that they look forward to. Initially, they saw it as being punishment. But after a while, when they realized what the value that was added to them in terms of learning how to care for something, this was their responsibility, the focus changed and the outlook changed. And they realized that it was really something to benefit them. So right away, we saw improvements in their behavior. The greenhouse is really catering for the boys. The fact that the boys were exhibiting maladaptive behaviors, and also the fact that many of them came from single-parent household headed by mothers, no fathers. And Mr. Grant and his team felt that having the influence of a male, in this, just males alone in a particular setting, they would be able to create that bond. So whilst the greenhouse is catering for the boys, our Peace Garden, however, is catering for both boys and girls. So in the greenhouse, we focus on crops. In the Peace Garden, we plant trees and plants, flowering plants. Just the beauty of nature, the calming effect. And we also have our animals. Limited as they are, we do have birds and rabbits. In our Peace Garden, we have games. So the students not only plant and watch the beauty of Mother Nature, but they get to play with the animals and pet them. They also get to play games. We have hopscotch, we have Ludo, whatever it is. And we have a little fountain with the water flowing melodiously through the fountain. So it's creating a very warm, very peaceful, very calming environment for our quote-unquote disruptive students. Student G lost his dad when he was in grade 1. And he became very aggressive, very angry during this period of time. And we found that having the male figure with him, working and talking and building a relationship, he's now able to identify with other males. He's able to control his emotions better. And his teacher, she has commented, his last teacher has commented how he has changed. We're not quite there yet, but we have really moved in leaps and bounds. So it's not a hanging out spot per se. It's the teachers who will identify the students, and they can take them around there during class time. During the school day, the garden belongs to the students. But before the school day and at the end of the school day, we cater to staff. So the garden is serving the entire school community. So it's the class teachers who will decide who will go to the Peace Garden and when. Sometimes they get a little restless in class, a little talkative, and you just want to refocus them. Or they just simply need a break from the sitting down and listening, from participating. So we take them out in a free space. And teachers use it also to do field trips, to identify living and non-living things, that kind of thing. So apart from the peaceful, calming effect of the garden, it is also used in the teaching and learning process. So these extracurricular activities are very important in stemming violent-based behaviors, because that's what we're about. We want to ensure that we get our students to be compliant, to respect discipline, to respect order, to know when and how to behave appropriately. And we feel that this is an initiative that really gets them involved, because we find a lot of our children are tactile. They love to manipulate, they love to touch. And once you get them into these activities and they understand the purposes of and using it to bond with other persons, we find that the behaviors change for the better.
The nature of this Peace Garden is to share and impart knowledge with the school and the wider community about prevention of violence, how to deal with violence, and other ways of dealing with it instead of being physical, and also to have collaboration with the wider community. We envisioned having some plants, a safe space, a place where it would be quiet, a place that it would make them calm. They cared and nurtured for the plants, and they just take care of the general area. We have some students that may be at risk of violence, or we might find some that may be channeling their aggression physically. So we wanted this space really to be for them to express themselves without being aggressive, without being physical. We have a resolution wall. So when the children are getting angry or the teacher is having an issue with them, we take them to that space so they can express themselves. They write on the wall how they're feeling, they express how the emotion that they're having. They learned how to resolve their issues. We had them entering competitions, we had them learning responsibilities and being more disciplined in terms of their psychosocial. We work closely with the community. So you find community members coming in, having counseling sessions and working with the ones who seem to be at risk. It has really embodied peaceful calmness, quiet serenity in our school, and also it has helped us to work better with the community and with the kids, understanding them better and helping us to curb gender-based violence and violence in schools.
How can schools participate in these programs? Trees for Peace on the ministry's website, well, first of all, they send out a school bulletin, and then there's an online form. You sign up for the garden. You send us a picture to see what it looked like before, and then you get the guidance counselor or a teacher as well to take the responsibility. And then, you go and collect your trees from forestry. You look at how you can maintain the gardens in these times of drought. What kind of trees can you actually plant and that. And the programs evolve. I find the creativity that we're having us as Jamaicans comes out. We know that people who live in clean, green spaces with productive activities, supervised activities, are less likely to be involved in violence and to be more peaceful. And we wanted to reach out to help the environment. The UN theme for the year was Climate Action for Peace. So that spurred us on to move us forward with the Trees for Peace. There was a famous lady in Africa who decided that she was going to get every woman to plant a tree. And when they ran out of trees, she says every woman can find a seed and you can plant that seed. But you're planting that seed for peace. And there was a small incentive if you kept your trees alive. So how do we do this in Jamaica? How do we make it last? So we don't know that much about trees. How do you plant a tree? Much more important, how do you keep it alive? So we put together a multi-stakeholder committee, Forestry Department, 4-H, Trees That Feed, an international group that has Jamaican roots. Well, of course, Ministry of Education, all the different parts of Ministry of Education, Hope Gardens, anywhere that we could find people who had the expertise. And what we did was we came up with a set of criteria, very detailed criteria, of all the things that we were going to judge the garden on. A lot of them were much more about behavior and activities around peace building in the gardens. So there was this idea of getting them to be more ingenious. Then we had all of these different groups put together the judging, and then we had the judging across the different regions of Ministry of Education. And it's been really lovely to see their ideas, because outside of the guidelines we don't structure and don't know what to expect. But every year it's just amazing to see what they do with it. In other words, you're enabling something, but there's science behind it. and you're putting in the measurement behind it. You're looking at the feedback, and it's a lot of hard work. We make it fun and we make it useful for the children. It's how do we get other people to buy into the methodology and to buy into the programs that have the evidence, and that we implement it and get more people working together to build a peaceful school, community, and society.